Hello, this is Orlando Mayor Buddy Dyer.
Welcome home.
Soar into tower. We are ready for takeoff.
Por favor, manténganse alejado de las puertas.
Hey, it's Amy from DVC Clubhouse.
Hey Clubbers, it's Scott from DVC Clubhouse.
Hey, it's Kathleen from DVC Clubhouse.
Welcome aboard. It's Phil from DVC Clubhouse.
Hey, everyone, and welcome back to another episode of the Debrief Podcast brought to you by DVC Clubhouse. This is Amy, joined by Kathleen, Scott, and Phil. Welcome, guys.
Hi, guys.
Hey guys.
Welcome aboard, guys.
And today we are joined by two special guests who both happen to be named Emily. So for the the purpose of being able to identify each of them, we're going to call them by their first initial. So Emily J and Emily M. So Emily J, why don't you give us a little bit of a background about just where you are right now?
Yeah, happy to do so. So I live in Minnesota, which is very far away from Walt Disney World. Joined DVC, I guess I joined down with my parents in 98. And we first bought in 2009. We have 3 contracts. We have Saratoga Springs, Vero Beach, and Bay Lake Tower.
Very nice. And Emily M. Hi.
Hi. I am in Seattle, Washington, so can't get much farther away and still be in the lower 48. And I joined DVC in 2021. And my home resorts are, because the Emilys, of course, have to stick together, are Saratoga Springs and Bay Lake Tower. Caveat, Emily and I did not know each other before we met through Clubhouse. It just so happens we have a lot in common.
Yeah, so both Emilys are members of our Facebook group, DVC Clubhouse. So if you do not belong to our Facebook group, go ahead and head over and join so that you can join in on our shenanigans over there. But Emily M, you just need to add Vero Beach and then you'll be exactly twinning with Emily. You'll have the same resorts.
After the videos and pictures that Kathleen and Scott posted the last couple of days, I mean, I don't know. That sounds like a good plan to me.
I was just gonna say I wouldn't have a problem adding a contract myself to Vero Beach right now. Love it.
So Emily M, have you been to Vero?
I have not, but it looks amazing. I've not actually ever been to a beach in Florida, so I need to remedy that clearly.
Yeah. So you just hang out in Central Florida.
Pretty much, yeah. I just hang out at Disney World, to be very specific. Yes.
Right. Yes. Understandably so. So, Emily J, you joined, correct me if I'm wrong, but when you guys became DVC members, you bought at Vero first, right? Your parents
Well, my
did?
dad did in 1998.
So you're a little bit of a kind of unique situation because the majority of the people in Clubhouse have all bought their first contracts at Walt Disney World.
Mm-hmm.
And so were you big Disney families? Exactly how did that happen? How did Vero Beach become the place where your family decided to buy or your dad decided to buy?
Yeah, so the year that we bought in, we traveled down to Vero. And so part of our stay, maybe it was the original split stay imagined. I don't know. I could give my dad credit for that. I don't. So we did 3 nights at Vero Beach, and then we came back up and we spent the rest of the time at Boardwalk. And my parents will tell you they had a very heated time. We bought in at Vero Beach. They canceled it. They bought Boardwalk. They canceled it. They bought Vero Beach. They couldn't decide. I know we really enjoyed our time down by the ocean and how small it was. And my parents kind of felt like we could just kind of roam the resort and that we could kind of just do our own thing. I think they enjoyed that freedom as well. Very relaxing vibe at Vero. And so I think that finally just won out.
Well, that's understandable. I've been there a few times, and it is an amazing resort. And I think probably because, I mean, what is the closest beach for you from where you live? Like, if you wanted to go to the beach, where would you like? You would need to get on an airplane and fly, right?
Yeah, I
To
should
go
have
to
an
the
airplane.
ocean.
I mean, unless you consider a lake with sand.
I don't personally. Having somebody who's grown up on the Jersey Shore, I don't feel like a lake beach is the same as an ocean beach, but I think I'm a little biased.
It's not all it's cracked up to be. I could throw a rock from my back deck and hit the beach, and it's just there.
Well, not all of us are as lucky to live a stone's throw away from the beach.
It just brings tourists.
Well, funnily enough, so does Disney World.
I was
And
just
here we
thinking the
all are,
same thing.
a bunch of tourists on a podcast together.
So I'm actually having bumper stickers made up that have my town's name for all the residents, and on the bumper sticker it says, "We're not on your vacation."
That good old Rhode Island hospitality right there.
Number one in the country,
Number
baby.
one. I was just gonna say number one.
Yeah. Okay. So then Emily M, you
Mhm.
live on the West Coast. And so correct me if I'm wrong, you grew up and Disneyland was like your kind of home Disney vacation. And
Yeah, that's
so
right.
so tell us a little bit about your like Disney background and then how you ended up starting to go to Disney World and then becoming a DVC member.
So you're right. I grew up in Southern California. So I was only, on a rough day, 2 hours away from Disneyland. So grew up going there multiple times a year, just day trips was all we ever did. Um, and moved up to Washington State for college. And I've been up here ever since. And, tried to get back down to Disneyland kind of as often as I could, but, life happens, right? And about 5 or 6 years ago, went down to Disneyland and remembered how much I loved Disney, how much I loved it there, and decided that I really, really wanted to go to Walt Disney World because I'd never been before. So, fast forward through a lot of complicated life things that happen. But my now ex-husband and I were supposed to go to Disney World for our first time in the summer or the winter of 2019. And we got divorced instead. So I went by myself. And it was amazing, and I loved it, and I loved sort of everything about it, and just decided that I love the bubble. I love being able to have so much to do, how everything is sort of taken care of and themed. And as we will talk about later, how easy it is to eat there for me. And so, I did everything I could to keep going back to Disney World. And y'all know it's a pretty long flight and a pretty big time change. So it's like a 5.5 to 6 hour flight and a 3 hour time change. So it's an effort to get down there for sure, but it is definitely my happy place. So I decided to buy into DVC as really sort of that first really big gift to myself and the new life that I was creating, and as sort of representing who I wanted to be in the future and where I wanted to spend my time and how I wanted to spend my money. So that's how I ended up in DVC.
Relatable.
Yes.
I can fully relate to those goals for yourself. And so did you buy Bay Lake first or Saratoga first, or do you buy them together?
I bought Bay Lake first. So I bought about 125 points at Bay Lake first. And went on my first like full vacation club trip. And I was like, oh, that's not going to be enough. So then I sort of started saving up some money and I have two other Saratoga contracts. that I've purchased in the like next 2 years, just to sort of beef me up. So I had enough points that I could really be traveling the way that I want to, could be staying for the length of time that I want to, and be able to try out other resorts. Saratoga is amazing and I love it, and it has a really great point chart. But you do want to be able to go try out these other resorts, and they are cost more points. So I wanted to make sure that I was giving myself full access with my sort of suite of points as much as I could. Also, being on the West Coast, being so close to Aulani. Aulani is basically the same distance as Disney World is for me. So being able to go to Aulani is actually a really big perk as well.
So you've been to Aulani.
I have, yes, multiple times.
And so when you go to Aulani, are you also going on, because you take pretty lengthy trips when you go to Disney World. Do you do the same thing when you go to Aulani?
No, I tend to only go there for maybe 4 or 5 days. Like there's generally a day that's just sort of travel. Um, for Aulani, it's coming back that is a full travel day because of the time change. It's 3 hours, but it's in my favor when I'm going there this time. So I'll go for 4 or 5 days. It's a little bit easier. I mean, for me, I was incredibly lucky as a child. We traveled to Hawaii a lot as a family. So it's a familiar place for me. So I don't feel the need to do a lot of things. Instead, I can go and really just sort of immerse myself and relax and do a couple of things out and about, but I don't feel like I need to go explore every place. So it's more of a relaxing vacation for me.
Yeah. We all need those. We know that the Disney World can be, well, again, because you're like following your trips on Facebook, and because I've seen you on several of your trips. I mean,
Mhm.
you're busy on those trips. You do a lot.
I tend to. I mean, I do try to. Well, look, let's be honest. The whole first part of the trip is like, go, 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 do all the things you want to do, like get everything done. And then after a couple of days of that, you're like, oh no, no, like I need to like sleep in and like sit on my balcony and drink coffee and like resort hop and go shopping. And like that's all I want to do, and sit by the pool and drink. So my vacations unintentionally tend to be structured that way. I'll go in the beginning, I'll rest in the end.
So, Emily J., when did you add BLT and Saratoga?
So Bay Lake Tower we added in 2009 when we decided we wanted to start traveling more, just him and I. We didn't have any children at that point. We didn't think we could have kids. We were told we couldn't have kids. And so and I've told this in the origin story originally, but we were actually at the top over at California Grill having dinner, and they were building Bay Lake. And I said, well, if it's just you and me, this is where I want to be. And so we went. We were supposed to leave the next day. Before we went on the plane, we went and bought 160 points at Bay Lake Tower. And then we have 3 children we ended up with. And so when the 5th one comes, you all know the sleeping arrangements in those studios. Not a thing. So our family has grown out of the studio. And so it was COVID. We were both still lucky to be employed. We're doing well. We took advantage of the pricing and we bought another 110 at Saratoga. And then so that we have 160 at Vero that just got transferred over to us last year. So that rounds us out. But ladies and gentlemen, it is still not enough points.
Not when you always have to be in a one bedroom, right? Or bigger.
Yeah. Yeah. And then when you like to go, every 2 or 3 months, it kind of, cuts into your.
It's so hard. I know. I have a whole spreadsheet where I'm trying to figure out like within like multiple years out. I'm trying to figure out
Yep.
how am I going to get in all the trips that I want to get in.
Hmm.
My kids have been giving me a hard time because for the past year, I've just been taking these like long weekend trips with them. I mean, I'm sorry, without them. And so, and I'm happy to stay wherever I can end up. And by the way, they told me that they were, tired of going to Disney World. So it's not like I was intentionally excluding them. I thought I was doing them a favor by going without them. But they've both said to me, it's time. So we looked at the calendar, and I'm going to be booking a trip for the three of us to go in June of 2025, and we're going to clearly go for longer than a long weekend. And I started to like cringe at how many points that's going to cost, because I'm not used to taking these like 6-night trips. I'm used to taking like 2 or 3, and then I'm like,
Mhm.
that's a lot of points. So I told them, I was like, we'll book at Beach Club, but would you be opposed if we switched to like Old Key West? And they are opposed to that, so we'll stay at Beach Club. But
How about
because at Old Key West,
Saratoga's? Do Saratoga.
well, they would need the problem is they don't want to have to share a bed. So Beach Club has a fifth
Oh,
sleeper.
I gotcha. Beach
So
Club has the
Mhm.
Murphy,
yeah.
the small Murphy. Yeah.
So yes, you're Emily J, you are correct. There's just never enough points. You can always justify the need for more points.
Oh, our kids went in spring break this last year, so we were down, I think, 6 nights. Then we came back down for springtime surprise. And then when they said, "Well, when are we going back again?" And I go, "September." Oh, I'm sorry, we're going out of the country here in about 10 days. We're doing a different. We haven't done anything different in Disney in a very long time. And they said, "We're not going back till September." And I said, "I want you to realize you spent the majority of April there.
You spent
You're
more
not
time at
normal
Disney than you
children."
did at home. Yeah. Well, I mean, we've talked about it on this podcast before, how, our kids have a very like skewed version of what normal Disney vacationing is, and feel like it's normal for them to feel, to be at Disney for the majority of a month, whereas some families don't ever go, or go once every 5 years.
That's what I said to my kids. What do you mean we're not going back till December? I said, you've been at Disney 3 of the last 5 months.
Not enough, Dad.
Clearly.
Hmm.
So, Emily M., you alluded to something that we're going to dive into on this topic when you said that going to Disney is something that's good for you, because they are really good with for you for dining options. And that is because both Emily's, and the reason why we have them both on this episode together, is that they both, in addition to owning at the same resorts, having the same name, they both also have to stick to a gluten-free uh, diet. And so let's talk a little bit about that. Both do you both have celiac?
Yes.
Yes. Okay. So you both have celiac disease. And so when did you guys figure out? So Emily M., when did you find out that you had celiac disease?
I was officially diagnosed in 2008, but it presented itself many years earlier, and it took a while at that point to get a diagnosis. It wasn't something that was, I think, as understood or as well known as it is now. And they didn't have a very good blood test at that point in time, so it was all actual internal testing and all that kind of stuff. So it presented itself many years earlier, but was finally diagnosed in 2008.
And Emily J., how about you?
I was formally diagnosed in 2013.
And so had both of you at that point already been traveling to Disney a lot, or did that come after your diagnosis?
We had traveled a lot prior to the diagnosis.
I had not, but sort of my first time really back to Disney as an adult was not long after that diagnosis. I went down to Disneyland because of some of the articles that I read. Well, because I missed it, but also because of some of the articles I read about how easy it was to navigate any sort of food restrictions or food allergies. So it was definitely like it's one of those things where it's not overblowing it to say you almost feel like crying when you find a place that there's multiple things on a menu that you can choose from, and that doesn't always involve a salad. So it was a very overwhelming feeling to be someplace that took me seriously when I said that I can't eat this. It wasn't like oh, are you sure? Or like, I don't know what's gluten. Like, I don't know what that means. So it was really amazing to be in a place that took my restrictions seriously, that had multiple options for me, and that I did not get sick once. So it was really kind of life changing, actually.
Yeah, I would agree with that.
I have a daughter who is allergic to peanuts. And so when she was diagnosed with that allergy, of course, that came with a ton of questions and fears and concerns. And dining out was something that initially was, when she started, I mean, she was little. She was 2.5 when she was diagnosed with the peanut allergy. But when we would go out, even, just wondering, like, do they cook the French fries in peanut oil? Like the things that you have to think of that most people don't need to think about because you don't think about the way your food is prepared. You just look at a menu and see if you like it. And then if you do, you order it. And if you don't order it. And so I found when we would go to Disney World, it was such a sense of like it was one less thing to worry about, especially when like traveling with little kids, you have so much to have to deal with. But now dealing with a child with a food allergy, and a serious food allergy, an allergy that can cause anaphylaxis. And so being a young parent going to Disney World, I just had that confidence in them that I could trust what they were telling me and also that they cared. I mean, at that time when she was that little, the chef would always come out and talk to us and would explain to us how they prepared the foods and that things are separate and if if she could have the bread, if she could eat something that was produced in a facility, but if she's super highly sensitive, she should stay away from the bread. And just that level of detail was so comforting because you go to some restaurants and you talk to the servers and they're like, "Oh, I don't know. I think so. I think it's fine." And hearing you think it's fine is not comforting when you have a condition that is serious that can affect your health. So I can understand how, going to Disney for you probably feels like a breath of fresh air compared to going to other places.
I was just going to ask that question actually. If you guys could describe the Disney difference compared to a local restaurant, kind of walk us through like what's the typical interaction? Like you tell them that you have a gluten allergy. What's the typical response that you get?
I think the biggest difference is the servers, and they don't act like you're any different. They're like, "Oh, just gluten?"
Yeah,
Um,
that's it.
you're like, "Yeah." I mean, and it starts off right away. So when you go ahead and you're on the app and you're making your dining reservation, you already can identify your allergy, and all the menus are on the app, so you can peruse and you can kind of figure out what you can and can't have. I think the other biggest, not as well known piece about the allergy dining, and Emily, you can chime in, but you can ask for other items that are on the menu that
Oh,
they can
definitely.
modify. And so I think that's also the part about Disney, compared to if I were to go to the restaurant closest to our house, I can have the French fries out of the fryer, and that's the only thing I can have on the entire menu. And they will tell me that I can have the burger, but they don't talk about that in the back. They cook everything on the same grill. A lot of times fryers are shared, so then you can't have that fryer. So Disney understands what cross contamination is, meaning you might have your breaded fish with gluten crumbs fried with your French fries. What that means, you don't get to eat those French fries anymore because the fryer's contaminated.
I was just going to say that in the field that I'm in, healthcare as well, everything is cooked separately. It's something that we have to take very seriously. And a lot of places, like what you were just talking about, everything would get cooked in the same container. It's just not taken as seriously as it should be. Some people have different reactions. Some people have a very minor reaction. Some people have a very severe reaction. But yeah, it's great to hear. It's kind of a peace of mind to know that somebody takes it that seriously. And like you said too, you can start right away when you get on the app and you can see the menus and just get an idea of where you want to go and what you want to eat before you even get there.
Yeah, we had a really special experience this last trip at Toledo's. My son has an egg allergy, and he wouldn't eat anything on the menu, and the chef actually cut up a potato, fried it to look like French fries, took some buns, and went and got peanut butter from somewhere at Coronado Springs and made him a Mickey head peanut butter sandwich and made some homemade chicken nuggets and put it on his plate. Not even on the menu.
Wow.
Aw.
Nice.
Hmm.
Yeah, but I think that Emily brought up a really good point when it comes to food allergies is that I think every person has to understand and decide their own risk tolerance, right? So Emily and I might have totally different risk tolerances based on our histories, based on how our body is feeling at the time. The disease that we have is autoimmune. So it's all about your immune system. So depending on how you feel, you might react differently if you have cross contamination. What other autoimmune diseases you may have and what medications you're on for them. So every person, every individual is going to have their own risk tolerances and what they're willing to try or not try, or whether or not they want to talk to a chef every time they go into a restaurant, or whether they know enough or are comfortable enough trusting the servers. Disney will always offer, even in quick service locations, to bring out a chef to talk to you. And in fact, at Disneyland, it's even more common in quick service dining. They're like, I'm getting a chef. They don't even let you order without getting a chef to come and take your order for you. So that is always an option when you're ordering off the allergy menus at quick service or table service. But I think everybody sort of has to decide what's the risk tolerance? What's worth it for them? And parents for sure have a much lower risk tolerance than maybe like I would as an adult. So I think that's a really good thing to sort of keep in mind, that for some people, cross contamination is a really big deal. For some people, maybe it's not. For me, some days it is, and some days it's not, depending on how I'm feeling. So it's a whole spectrum. And I'm very thankful, Amy, that I do not have any anaphylactic shock involved, because that's when it gets like crazy and serious and hospitalization. Very lucky that is not my case.
And it is, we all talk about the feels and how Disney gives us the feels, and that's why we all keep going back. And it is it is not just in the theming or those special memories that you make, but it's in the care that you feel that the cast members take with you with something so serious. And that story, Emily J, with your son, and that they took such care with him to make sure that he felt safe with what he was eating
Hmm.
is it is really important, because again, as a parent of a child with an allergy, she has a lot of traumatic memories around food. And those memories can kind of color an entire experience. And so if you have a traumatic food experience on vacation, that could color the entire trip. And so to have people that are, and I think, Emily J, you said it, they don't treat you any differently. You don't get this
Hmm.
feeling of like, oh, now you're like the one who's being the annoying one on my shift. It's like I think that they see it enough because, as we said, it's a huge tourist destination. They are seeing people of all walks of life, and they're seeing people who have multiple food allergies. Like, I mean, people that can't eat gluten or dairy or egg or soy all in one. And so, I mean, they are trying to accommodate people that have very complicated allergies. So you never feel like this is a part of the part of your vacation where you're like, oh, here I go now being the hassle or the annoying one. It's just they've thought about it already, so that it's just one more part of your vacation that you can relax into and not feel like, okay, now I need to have this be a stressful part of my day.
I was just going to say that it's one less thing you have to worry about, because we're all, you all have worries when you go on vacation. Did I pack this? Do I have enough of this? One less thing to worry about, for sure.
Absolutely. So let's get into the fun part of this conversation and talk about what it is, where are the places that you love to go, like your tried and trues, for your favorite meals, your favorite desserts, your, quick service, table service. Like let's run through it. And I mean, let's just all automatically get off the table because I think all of us universally love the gluten-free churros at Nomad Lounge. I mean, those things are
Yes.
a thing of
Amazing.
legend.
That was number one on my list.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I think everybody eats those, whether they're gluten-free or not, because they are so good. And I think many people have the opinion that they're even better than the churros, the rest of the churros on property that have gluten. So hats off to the Nomad Lounge churros. But other than that MVP that everyone loves, what are the things that you guys, the places that are, like I said, like your tried and trues or your favorite things?
Ooh, I mean, that's tough. What I will say is that when I go to Disney World, I have entire days where I eat like a 7-year-old, and it's like very exciting for me. So it's like Mickey waffles in the morning, it's chicken tendies for lunch, and then it's like a burger or maybe more chicken tendies for dinner, and like a Dole Whip. And I mean, like I don't like it the
Kathleen,
whole time. There's
Kathleen's like
usually just like
Kathleen
one day.
relates.
One day. I think it's more than one day.
It's more than one day.
I
Let's
mean,
be real. It's more than one day.
I think that exact menu is what you ate yesterday.
Yeah. That's my food.
But see, the difference is for Emily and I, those are not common things that we can eat unless we're making them ourselves. Right?
Right.
So having that be available, having Mickey waffles be available at every resort quick service is amazing. Having chicken tenders like at your fingertips that you can eat wherever you are is
you know,
like,
like just gluten.
yeah, it's like amazing. So sometimes it's the simple things.
I mean, I'd have to say my top chicken nuggets and French fries is probably Primo Piatto because I enjoy the little Parmesan cheese that fries.
I think that in Columbia Harbor House for like
Yeah.
classic because they got the long, like the finger ones. Those are really good. Yeah. I mean, sometimes it's just the simple stuff, but I would say that some of the places that I think have like the best options or full menus, I guess, for gluten free would be someplace like Skipper's Canteen, where pretty much everything on the menu is gluten free. I think there's only like two things that you can't, that either aren't naturally on the gluten free menu or you can't modify to be gluten free. So whenever I go there, I just kind of sit and stare at the menu for a second. Like, I'm not used to having that many options. Like, we are
Mm-hmm.
very much used to having 3 or 4 things to choose from, even if the menu is 10 pages long. So it's sort of a very odd feeling to go into a restaurant and have this, paradox of choice where you're like, I cannot make a decision because there's too many things that I could eat. It's a really good feeling. So
And I would agree. I think Magic Kingdom. I was a little disappointed in the chicken the last time. I'm hoping they brought back the bone-in chicken.
mm,
'Cause they switched over to a breast for it tastes like chicken because it is. But I think fried chicken. I mean, you can go to 50's Prime Time and you can order fried chicken. That's the only time I ever get fried chicken.
mhm.
So I think I think we get, or at least in my experience, we get the places we want to go to at each park or at each resort. The Mara does a great job at Animal Kingdom Lodge.
Mhm.
I think there's a lot of choices there.
Since we're at Animal Kingdom, can we talk about zebra domes?
We can.
We can. We can eat a whole 4-pack of them, in fact, in
Yeah,
one
in one
sitting.
sitting.
Oh, yeah. And we're gonna if we can, if they were
And there's
here.
nothing
We
wrong with that
do.
at all.
No. I mean, I do say when we check in, because they do have them in the cooler at Kidani,
Mhm. In the
I will get a
upstairs.
bottle of Sederberg and 4 zebra domes. And I may have a couple glasses of Sederberg and some zebra domes, and I send the family away and I unpack everything. And it's the most peaceful experience.
Leave me in my happy place.
Sounds like
Drinking and
vacation to
eating zebra
me.
domes.
Bye, Doug.
So, and just to give a quick shout out, so for anybody who is on the Facebook, a member of the Facebook group, Emily J's husband is the guy who does the Would You Rather Wednesday. So just a little shout out to Doug for bringing a little entertainment. This little one this past week I had strong opinions about, and
You had
I
hate
had to
on
do a
that one,
follow up
girl.
post about.
Had strong opinions. I mean, the 90s were the time. That was the
Yeah.
obvious answer.
So talk to me about buffets. What is it like to like?
Mm.
Do you feel like buffets are worth it for you? And do you do them frequently?
Ooh, Emily, do you want to start? Or do you
Sure.
want
It
me to
depends on
go?
which one. When you
True.
say, is it worth it? It depends on which one. What was the Animal Kingdom buffet called again?
Boma.
Boma.
Yes, sorry, you literally just said it.
10
I know
out
we
of
said
10.
the Mara, but Boma was amazing. Boma was amazing. Would I go to like mini seasonal dine? Probably not. So I think it's really going to depend
What is that? Is
on.
that a Disneyland thing?
Oh no, that's in
Hollywood Studios.
Hollywood Studios,
Studios. Yeah.
It's called Mini Seasonal Dine.
isn't it? It changes.
I think it's
It's-
right next to 50s. They changed the,
Hollywood and Vine.
yeah.
Sorry,
Oh,
guys, if
Hollywood
it's
and
not
Vine.
if it's not California Grill, Amy's not familiar with it, but
Yeah,
it's okay.
It's Hollywood and slime. That should raise everybody's awareness and memories of that one.
Everybody just went, "Oh yeah, that."
Oh yeah, that.
I didn't realize that was like the
No.
proper name of the
Yeah, it's
the meal.
called it's called Minnie's
Seasonal dine at Hollywood and Vine.
Mm-hmm.
Got it. Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you
I mean,
for
it sounds like
thank you
none
for
of us
that.
are going there, but probably for different reasons.
None
So
of us.
I think it really depends. But in terms of the actual experience of going through a buffet, in general, you will have a server or a chef come out and ask you about your comfort level with eating off of the buffet. They will always bring you food prepared in the back if you would rather have that. If you do want to eat off of the buffet, they will walk you through and tell you what you can eat and what you can't eat. In a place where you can eat almost everything, like Boma, they'll give you a whole guide,
You get like a little worksheet.
like an allergy worksheet
Look at
that
it.
has all of the allergies listed, and then there's little dots of like the things you can and can't eat.
Mhm.
So they give you that as well. But you can, if they don't offer a walkthrough, you can always ask for one, and they're happy to give that to you. So again, it depends on your risk tolerance. Do you
So
want to
what
eat
is
off the
in
buffet?
terms of risk tolerance, what is the risk of cross contamination on a buffet? Do you
Yeah.
find that that's an issue?
It can be,
Yeah.
yeah.
It depends. So let's say you're on this buffet and you're in front of me and I'm watching what I'm doing, but you're taking a scoop of gluten containing items and you're putting it on your plate, and then you're taking a scoop of non gluten containing items, and then that spoon hits the plate, and then you've contaminated, you put it back in, you've contaminated that entire. I mean, it's like a pencil tip amount of gluten. And I think it depends. I think you kind of every celiac, if you're talking about that food allergy, reacts differently upon eating gluten. And I have progressed over the years. I used to have just minimal GI intolerance to now I have severe GI intolerance. Like I would be leaving. My day would be done. My next day I wouldn't be able to eat much. And so for me, I'm pretty conservative about what I will or not. I have also had great experiences at Tusker House where they've brought me 2 plates where I just feel terrible when I don't even can't finish it because nobody could eat that much food. Well, maybe that, but
Definitely.
I've had that experience as well where they're like, oh, we'll just bring you a little bit of everything from the back. And I'm like,
Mhm.
oh my God. And then there's like 5 plates of food in front of me.
you know,
Waving to
It's great
people
when
as they
you're by
walk by,
yourself
like,
and
"Oh,
that happens.
hey." So do you find that one of the parks is better than the others, or like how would you rank the parks in terms of the ease of finding food that you like that is safe for you to consume?
I I would probably put um it depends. Is it festival season at Epcot or not? So it depends. So I think for me, standard, I would probably say Animal Kingdom. would
Mhm.
be my favorite place to eat. I think there's a lot of different options there, and there's good options at every place that you can eat at in Animal Kingdom, including snacks and things like that. They also offer just more interesting food there. I think we can all agree that like Magic Kingdom's great for like the chicken nuggies, but it's maybe not like the most foodie park. But that all being said, Epcot during festival season can have a lot of gems. Like there can be
Mhm.
some amazing things that you can get from those festival booths that are just naturally gluten free, or have been made gluten free on purpose. And that is also really great too because you can feel like you're being included. You know, everyone's like, "Oh, let's wander around the World Showcase and eat stuff from all these different booths," and you're like, I guess I'll just drink, which is not bad, but like, you want to be able to eat
Or
something
have some
too.
popcorn.
I know, eat some popcorn.
So do you feel like the food booths, like that the food safety in the food booths is good because those are smaller spaces.
Mhm. I mean, they don't mark them gluten free anymore that I've noticed, but you can ask. And then typically, I have a few apps on my phone that will publish the menu, and those apps will publish what is gluten friendly. And then, really, I think it's up to your own risk, your identified risk tolerance.
I think in some booths it's easier because like everything is, gluten free on that menu for, that food booth. Or most of it is, and what isn't gluten free is prepackaged or it's something else. And you can tell it's not something that's going to get in a lot of contact with the food that you're going to eat. So I think you have to sort of assess, at each place differently. I mean, I don't know about you, Emily, but I'm always like assessing. You're like constantly
Yeah.
assessing and
Even when
deciding.
you don't need to be. I think that's the hard. You can't turn it off.
You can't turn it off. No.
No.
How about Spice Road Table? Do you guys eat there? Is that a
It
good
doesn't
place to
have
go?
anything gluten free. I think it has one thing now
One,
gluten
I think, because
Wow.
we ate there. We went there once, I think, when there was nothing else available.
I
And
think it's just the Dolmas. I think it's the only thing that they provide that's gluten free, which is really shocking. Like that should be the easiest place to
they
eat.
didn't they didn't used to. I remember years ago, pre-COVID, my husband and I ate there, and I had a very nice chicken dish.
Yeah, I'm surprised by that too because it's very vegan and vegetarian friendly. So you'd think that they would try to kind of bang the big ones out, direct everyone to go there. Especially because I think that that's one of the restaurants that typically has more availability than others. Like to find a restaurant that they can cater to those like special dietary needs might be a strategy to fill those restaurants, but go figure. I don't sometimes we don't understand the choices that Disney makes.
I would like to point out if you are ordering in the app, like if you're ordering quick service through the app, sort of across in the bar across the top where all the icons are, there is a little icon for the allergy menus. And if you click on that and there's different sections for different allergies. And so you can order through mobile order through the app, and it does mark your order as whatever allergy it is that you have or that you have ordered from. Um, so that's amazing. That's a really, really awesome thing because it means that we can still order through mobile order. We're not having to like wait in the long line. Like we can just be like normal people. We can order along with our friends. You can order some gluten-free food and some non-gluten-free food all in the same order, and they separate them out. In a lot of places, they actually present your food on a different colored tray so that it's clear that it is an allergy order. And many times, the cast member that will present you your order is actually like an allergy coordinator or a chef. So sometimes that's why if you are eating with us or with other friends of yours that might have an allergy or, your kids and the order takes longer, a lot of times that's the case, right? They are doing glove changes, they are doing cleaning, they are getting an allergy coordinator to present it. They are doing all of these things to make sure that we feel comfortable with eating the food.
Emily M, I think that we were with you when you had one of your worst experiences with a with a with a
What was up with
server. When we
Crockett's?
went
Was
to
that?
Crockett's Tavern, yeah, at Fort Wilderness, Kathleen Scott and I were with you. And our server swore up and down that he was like so well versed that his brother has celiac disease, so he totally gets it and he knows. And then he brought you your burger or what your sandwich on a big old gluten-y bun.
And I was like, what the hell is this? What? I mean, I didn't say that. It was much worse. Um, yeah. And I was like, didn't we have this whole like 10-minute conversation about
It's not
being
like we
gluten free?
bonded.
And then he was like surprised, like, oh yeah, no, you can't eat that. I was like, no, I can't. Yeah. That was yeah, that was probably the thing is the reason that was so funny is that was so out of
Character.
character for
Yeah.
Disney. Like that guy must have been new, but like it was, or maybe at Crockett's they just don't get people that have allergies. I don't know about people that stay at the campgrounds, you guys, so I don't know. But do y'all just not have allergies out at the
I
campgrounds?
don't know. I don't think we have time to get into the campground stories.
Yeah, that was pretty wild though. That was a wild experience.
hmm
Um, so Emily J, you mentioned that there are certain apps that you use outside of the My Disney Experience app. So what are some resources out there available that you guys turn to as your go-to for, official type of, well, unofficial, not put out by Disney, but put out by, influencers or vloggers who are covering the gluten-free
hmm
scene at Disney?
Yeah, I have a festival app on my phone, and it just switches every time there's a festival, and I just click on it, and it tells me the menus that are up for that festival. There are certainly a couple gluten-free, dairy-free vloggers that are there that will go to the festivals usually on the first couple of days. I will kind of peruse through their episode to kind of see if they have anything different that wasn't there before. Otherwise, find me gluten free, but I don't need that
Yeah,
at Disney.
yeah. Don't need that at Disney.
I mean,
Yeah.
I can tell you, I just got done planning a 12-day vacation overseas. I probably have 80 hours into that, and that's probably being light.
It
I don't
is
know if I
tough.
can, I have to go back to Disney because I can just go. I know what I'm doing.
Yeah, it is very difficult to travel internationally with this type of eating restriction. It's something that a lot of places don't understand, a lot of other countries don't understand. And unless you're going someplace where the food is very naturally gluten free, it can be really, really tough. I travel with an entire packing cube full of protein bars because you never know when you're not going to be able to eat someplace.
Well, I was going to ask you, when you go to Disney, do you bring food with you as like a safety backup in case, or do you just feel so, you know where to go, you know that you feel so confident in being able to eat there that that's not even a thought?
I don't bring food.
I
I
bring,
do.
I'm sorry, go ahead, Emily.
We will put an Instacart order in, but I think that's because I have 3 children that I mean, let's face it, Disney is a little expensive, so they would the budget would be shot. But we do that. But no, I mean, I don't have to worry about making sure I have my gluten-free bread packed and the boxes of protein bars just in case you can't eat.
I bring protein bars, but that's just like for the morning if I don't want to spend the time to like go find something to eat for breakfast. Um, like when you and I stayed together, Amy, like I ate like a banana and a protein bar, right? Because it was easier than trekking to a restaurant and like ordering something and waiting. Sometimes you just like want to get up and get out. And in that cases, that's really the only reason why I bring them though. It's a very different scenario than some other traveling where you're bringing food because you don't know like where your next meal is gonna happen.
I was going to say when I stayed with you, I was with you for, a few nights, and spending time with you and going to different restaurants, it never felt like it was this big thing. It was very similar to when you're traveling with my daughter. You mention it to the server, you look at the menu and you order, and it's never like a big like, oh, I can't do anything here. I can't get anything here, so let's trek someplace else to find something, which is again, that way because that's also a thing too for people that have special diet restrictions or needs in real life versus outside of Disney, where it is a thing to have to, if you're going out with a group, to have to say like, well, can we not go there because that place isn't great for me? But you don't need to worry about that when you're in a group at Disney, because you have the confidence that you'll be able to eat something, and that they will modify where possible for you.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, Disney's the one place where I don't feel like I have to pre-plan what I'm going to eat and where I'm going to eat. I mean, I do, because it's so intrinsic to my nature at this point, but you don't have to do that at Disney. You know that like wherever you end up, there's gonna be something that you can eat that isn't
So
just a salad.
shifting, so just before we wrap, well, let me ask you, before we wrap up this conversation on gluten free, is there anything else that you want to share with our listeners? Any tips, tricks, words of wisdom?
I would say in terms of like tips, if you or like a family member or a friend that you're traveling with has any food allergy, Disney, I think it's the top 6 that Disney does. But if you have anything beyond that, or even those, just take a look at the website, right? Take a look at the app. All of the menus are published. If you keep scrolling down past the like main menu and then like the beverages and the alcohol, that's where all of the gluten free and dairy free and soy free and peanut free, and all of those things will all be listed down sort of at the bottom of the menu. Same thing with mobile order. You can just pretend you're going to put a mobile order in so that you can take a look and see what's available on the allergy menu there. So it is very easy to, without a lot of effort, you see what your options are.
Yeah, and my recommendation would be to just go have fun, try new things, enjoy the fact that you don't have to think about it. And you can actually enjoy your vacation. I mean, Disney is can be so much go, go, go if you want to see all the attractions and you're doing your Genie Plus, and this could be like a weight off your shoulders. I think, especially if you have kids. If you have a parent with, we lug around the EpiPen, and knowing that I can go in and just say he can't have egg, and they just do it. That really makes the vacation.
Yeah, it does. It really is one less thing to really to not have to stress about. So just before we wrap up this episode, just shifting for a minute. So curious to get your opinions on Scott's favorite and least favorite resorts. So, how do you feel about the Grand Floridian, and how do you feel about Old Key West? Let's
Wow. This took a turn.
So let's start with Old Key West, because we know how Scott feels about Old Key West. What are the opinions on Old Key West?
We stayed there quite a bit, and we were down there. I think we stayed there, I don't know, fall or January, and my husband and I looked at each other and we said we need a break from Old Key West. No, no, mindset changed. We went down. We stayed in the cabins, not the remodeled ones. Put that disclaimer up. I asked to leave. I think we were there for one night, and our whole family said, "Thank God we're at Old Key West. Finally, the trip can start."
Wow. Something I never thought I would hear.
I know.
Well, you guys had a room with like the best view I've ever seen. That one trip that you were overlooking the water. I mean, I have requested that room ever since in the couple of times that I've stayed there since you stayed in that room, and I haven't been, lucky enough to get it. But man, if I could stay in that room every time, I think that I might request that resort every single time, because that, to me, to sit on your balcony with a glass of wine or a cup of coffee, that looks amazing. So,
But I
what
think
about
that's what
you,
makes Old Key
Emily
West.
M?
If you
Oh,
get
oh
a
wait,
room,
sorry.
that's okay. If you get a room that is right next to the busy highway, even though they have the trees, I think that can make or break your trip versus if you have a water view, golf. I don't know, Phil, if you stay there. want to comment, but
Yeah, from time to time. And I think our problem was we don't dislike Old Key West. I think it definitely has its drawbacks. We, just because of circumstances and needing points, had to stay there so many times in a row that I think the negative parts of it just added up trip after trip after trip until I just couldn't deal with it anymore. Think our main takeaway, and I've mentioned it before, was it's definitely less points. And I don't have a problem with the resort itself, but we simply came to the conclusion after being spoiled with Polynesian and Bay Lake Tower and Beach Club and Yacht Club and Boardwalk, we pay less points, but we get a lot less vacation if it's not resort specific. You're out there. There's no easy way to get anywhere. We've just become so spoiled with easy and immediate access that when we get out to Old Key West, it's just brutal.
Disney, please bring us golf carts to Old Key West. Sorry, my
As soon as
my
Scott brought
shameless
that
plug.
up, I was totally
oh,
on board. I am all for it.
I'm down for that.
So Emily M, what about you? Old Key West.
I think that every one of the resorts has a purpose and fills a purpose, right? Old Key West was the very first DVC resort I stayed at when I rented points when I was trying to decide if I wanted to actually buy a contract. I will say the studios are a little weirdly shaped and sort of odd, kind of an odd layout, and an odd decor aesthetic. So that was a little bit weird to me, but it was still a really good experience. Like, I don't have anything against the resort itself. It's not someplace I would go out of my way to stay at, or I would choose to stay at unless it was the only thing that was available. But I don't have anything against it. Now, I would 1000% stay there if they had golf carts. I want to be very clear. Like, I'm in if there's a golf cart.
I would still have issues with it, but it would make that entire resort so much more tolerable.
Definitely. I could see
And
it
so
now.
and so, you both own at Saratoga Springs, which in the DVC circles has been come to known as the resort of last resorts. But do you both prefer Saratoga Springs to Old Key West, or no?
I do.
Yeah.
We're different on that.
We are.
We are. Yeah.
So Emily J, you prefer Old Key West to Saratoga, and Emily M, you prefer Saratoga to Old Key West.
Correct.
Okay.
That is
And now we
interesting.
have
And I just want
And
to
now
point
we
out that I used to call those two the resort of last resort. And there are some that will outdo it now. There are a couple of places I will not stay. I
Is
would
it a
choose
campground?
Old Key West and Saratoga, and before I'd choose those all day long.
Oh no, he wants to stay at the campgrounds now. He does.
Under
determined that.
very, very specific circumstances, but in a typical vacation, the campground is unquestionably, unequivocally 114% the resort of last resort.
Is it a resort? Would we call it a resort?
Not if you ask me.
I think I have to just abstain after our last experience. I will give it another try, but not for the whole trip.
I will only give it a try if I'm like hanging with my friends. And it's not, the point isn't to go to the parks. The point's to like hang with your friends. But I live in Washington State, you guys. There's like a campground like down the street. Like, I don't need to go to Disney World and go like stay in the trees. There are trees everywhere.
But do you have a golf cart there?
No, I do not have a golf cart here.
I mean, that
I
golf
agree.
cart
The
goes
golf
12
cart
miles
makes
an hour.
everything better.
That makes it worth the points right there.
No, that makes it worth staying there on your points. There's a difference.
Well, for anybody who's going to be at Clubhouse Weekend until the 1st, I added a cabin. So any Clubhouse friends that are going to be there, come on over on the 30th. Phil's just shaking his head now.
Hard no.
But for the beginning part of that trip, I'm staying for 3 nights at Scott, say it.
Oh, I'm sorry. This would be the Grand Floridian, aka the Crown Jewel, Walt Disney World's flagship resort.
So I will be going.
Which, by the way, I just want to say, which, by the way, I just left today, kicking and screaming. They were dragging me out of there. I did not want to leave. Go ahead.
Okay, I'm going to have to cut this part out, but she can no longer make fun of you for the way you say Grand Floridian when every time she utters the word California Grill, she does it with some...
Do we have to cut that,
I
really?
mean,
we don't.
Yes.
I am not. Look, there's no shame in my game, okay, guys? There is no
There should be
shame
no
in my
shame.
game.
You enjoy your California Grill.
Thank you. So,
I'm just glad I'm not the only one that noticed the eye roll and the toe curl every time she says it. But anyway.
slapping my hand on the table.
All right, we are rolling up past an hour, guys.
Oh, that's Phil speak for wrap it up. So anyway, what's just final thoughts on the Grand Floridian?
So I actually just stayed there for the first time in May. And Scott and I have had this conversation, and I am 1000% a convert. Like, I kind of said, meh, I mean, it's a nice resort, but like, I don't necessarily need to spend the points to stay there. Then I stayed there.
It's a game changer, isn't it?
And I was like, oh.
Mm-hmm.
And
there's that reaction right there. Yep.
Yes. Yeah.
So
I understand that
I am a
reaction.
convert. It's amazing. I already have plans to take another one of my friends there next May. Like, it's super bouge, which I love. But it's beautiful, and I would stay there all the time if I could.
I think the Jazzes have to try it again. We've only stayed there one night. That was right in the midst of COVID. So I think we have to give it another try.
You do, definitely.
Come on over to the light side. Big Pine Key is waiting for you.
And I'm sure they have plenty of great gluten-free options, right, Emily M?
They do.
They do.
There's a ton of restaurants at the Grand Floridian. And I mean, you're on the monorail loop. So the food doesn't get much better than being on that loop. So.
All right. Well, Phil's yawning, so we're clearly boring him over here with our conversation. So does anybody else have anything they'd like to say regarding really anything?
I would just say I'm excited. Tiffin's has a new burger and a new sticky mango rice dessert, gluten-free.
Oh, that sounds good.
That's enough for me. I might have to get on a plane before September, guys.
Like, I have to make another trip specifically for these food items.
Listen, I was just going to say, if you guys are wanting to save points, you're always welcome. Come on down. We have the Amy Power Suite down here that we rent out every now and then. Please come on down anytime.
When's that pool getting installed?
Don't worry about it. Next year.
All right. So I think that does it for this episode of the Debrief Podcast. Phil?
All right, guys, we thank you for playing along with us again. If you could be so kind, head on over to Apple Podcast, give us a like, a 5-star review. We would very much appreciate it. Amy?
And I just want to thank both Emilys for joining us tonight and taking time out of your schedules. This was a little bit of a tricky one to coordinate since when I say all three of us, I mean the pod squad and then the two of you on 3 different time zones. So thank you for making it work. I know that Emily M, you're still technically working, and maybe I shouldn't say that. But thank you very much for taking your time. And for everyone else listening, thank you for listening. Don't forget to follow us on TikTok, Instagram, subscribe to our YouTube channel, join us on Facebook. And until next time, we'll DVC you real soon.
Bye, guys.
Bye, guys.
I feel like the Emilys need to give us a goodbye.
Bye.
Bye.
See you guys.
And so our journey comes to an end.
Oh, no, please, can't we go back to page 1 and do it all over again?
We started this thing together, and that's how we'll finish it.
Because that, my friends, is where the magic lives.